Hi, let's finish some books. Hi, I'm Colleen Delaney. If you're new here, I talk about books and writing. In the description, I put links to my newsletter and all that fun stuff you might be interested in. My newest book, Bewitching Rosemary, is out on November 19th. This video will come out after that, so I will have links in the description if you would like to check it out. I decided, literally like 15 minutes ago, as I've just got out of the shower and have so much to do because tomorrow is my twin's birthday, that, and I have no makeup on, that I'm going to motivate myself to finish some books with a reading vlog because I am just on the struggle bus with everything. Reading, writing, none of it's happening. Usually in November, at this point, halfway through, I'd have 30,000 words written. I've written 6,000 words. I've read 2 or 3 books. I can't remember now. 3. I've read 3 books, but I've just been like not feeling anything. I don't usually get seasonal depression. I usually get seasonal anxiety, and I'm definitely swinging, not like full on depression, but just like the pure exhaustion is just on me constantly. So all of you are going to serve as a motivator for me to finish these books. I have 4 books. I want to finish these in the next week, 2 weeks, definitely before the end of November, and there's other stuff I want to read in November. So let's say 10 days. Let me give myself 10 days because I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. We'll see. I can do it. I can do it. 2 of them I've read a big chunk of, and 2 of them I've read barely any of. But these are 4 books that I want to finish. 3 of them are book of the month. So I have a lot of unread book of the month right now, and I have more than are just in this pile, but the other ones that are unread are ones I am more interested in, and I'm going to save them for December because I do think I will read them quite quickly, with the exception of one, which is The Secret History, and I'm just going to read that when I feel like reading it. Let's start not with my book of the month picks. The first book that I want to read in the next 10 days is The Life of Charlemagne by Einhard. I am reading this for research purposes for a future book. I'll just tell you that. I'm currently on page, 20, and it's a very, very short biography of Charlemagne, but I am annotating it while reading it, so I really just need the motivation to work on it. It's only 67 pages. That will be completed in the next 10 days and annotated, and I'll feel better about myself. Next, I have Shelterwood by Lisa Wingate. I am currently on page 158, which is about halfway done. I think this is about it's 331, so a little under halfway done. This has just been an extremely slow read. I've been reading this book for well over 2 weeks. I've paused and read 3 other books after I started it. It's written in 2 narrators in 2 times, so one time is 1909 and one time is 1990, and I'm definitely suffering from the I do not care what is happening in 1909. I only care what's happening in 1990, which is interesting because usually when I read historical books like that, it's the flip. But the 1909 has children narrators, and I just find it not grabbing me. As the 1990 has a park ranger narrator who I'm really enjoying her voice. So that is part of the issue. I feel like I just want to skip the 1909 chapters. I know I can't because the stories are interwoven, but I do need to just sort of buckle down and finish this because I get to the point in books where I'm like, I'm bored, but I need to finish it. I try not to DNF books I get from Book of the Month, and I already DNF'd one this year, Honey, and so I'm going to try really hard not to DNF any other ones I have, which is going to be difficult because the next one also is on that. I just can't find motivation to pick it up, and it's The Ministry of Time by Kayleen Bradley. A lot of people told me they liked it. A lot of people told me it was fine. I'm just lacking the motivation to pick it up, which I'm hoping that doing this video will force me to read it. I think part of the problem I'm having, because I just flipped through it, and this is just a personal preference, the chapters are really, really long. Like these are 30 to 40 to maybe 50 page chapters, which I don't like because a lot of my reading is done in spurts, and not always, but when I have 15 minutes before the bus is going to come, I really like to be like, oh, I'm just going to read like a couple chapters. But when it's a 50-page chapter, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to finish that chapter in the next 15 minutes. I won't even pick it up. So that's part of the reason I think I'm struggling to pick this one up, is just the sheer amount of time it's going to take me to get through a chapter. But I want to finish it before the end of the year because I do really like to finish all my Book of the Month picks. I picked this one in May. I definitely struggled with that month in terms of the books I got and how I felt about them. I got this, The Return of Ellie Black, and one other one I can't remember. It might have been The Great Divide. I might have gotten that in April. I can't remember. But The Return of Ellie Black I really didn't enjoy. And so I think that's also sort of poisoned me. Sometimes I feel like they have months where like every single book is great and I'll look over the next year and I'll get the other books as add-ons. And then sometimes I think they have months that are a little bit of duds. And then lastly, the book I want to read is The Stone Witch of Florence by Anna Rash. I am really interested in this and really want to read it. The only reason I didn't read it in October is because I read The Witches of New York, which is somewhere behind me right now. I can't remember who wrote it, which I really liked, but was historical witches. And then after I finished that one, I didn't really want to read another historical witches right away. And so I was like, I'll wait a little while and then I'll pick up The Stone Witch of Florence. I think it's been enough time now. I kind of want to finish at least Shelterwood and The Life of Charlemagne before I like reward myself by getting to read this one. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm hoping maybe in the next 2 or 3 days. I mean, if you follow along, you know I have a husband who works nights a lot and he is working tonight. So unless I get super motivated to write, which I might, I will work on getting huge chunks of these done after the kids go to bed tonight. Because then obviously tomorrow is my twins' birthday and we have a lot going on. We have, their school is doing a special like breakfast with parents in the morning. So we're going to that. And then one of my kids has like an invitation to bring one of the twins, not both, twin problems, has an invitation to bring her family to her classroom and introduce us tomorrow. So we're doing that. And then my twins are getting bikes for their birthday, but they're turning 7. We can't hide bikes at our house. So then after that, I have to go pick up their bikes. So they're ready when they get home from school. And so tomorrow is kind of a shot day. I might eventually at night, oh my God, I also have to make a cake. I completely forgot. I might eventually at night have some time to read. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go run my errands, clean my kitchen before I know it'll be time for the kids to come home. I'll try to read at least another chapter of Shelterwood and maybe a bit of The Life of Charlemagne. And I'll check in at some point. I'm not going to give myself hard check-ins. Today's November 14th, so I want to finish filming this by November 24th. I can do it. Good morning. It's Saturday the 16th, and yesterday was a wonderful, fun birthday for my twins. My house is a disaster, and I'm going to clean it up after I film this quick check-in, but I wanted to let you know that I finished The Life of Charlemagne by Einhard yesterday. I didn't have a ton of reading time yesterday, but as I said before, I only had about, I think like 45 pages to read in here. I did annotate it, so it does take a little bit longer than just reading, but I really enjoyed it, which is kind of odd to say if you look at my reading history about a biography of Charlemagne, but it was pretty interesting. I think the fact that it was such a quick read really helped you stay hyper-focused. It was written by a man who was part of his court, who I think was maybe his nephew. I have to do more research into actually who Einhard was, who wrote this, I think it's about 10 years after Charlemagne died, during the reign of his son, which was a little bit shaky. So some of the historical commentary on this actual text is that it was probably a bit of like a looking at the past through rose-colored glasses, but there was a lot of like fun stuff in here that you wouldn't normally get from a biography of a medieval person because it was written by someone who knew him, where he talked about like he hated doctors and he loved astronomy, and he really loved listening to people read out loud to him while he was eating his meals. And so I really enjoyed it. This man was in so many wars. I always think of Charlemagne as like a great conqueror, but you never really think of like the actual sheer number of wars that needed to happen because of that. I'm not going to remember all of them. There was like the Italian War and the Saxon War and the war with the Northmen. And there were a ton of different wars with little tribes that are like not names that we still utilize. But it was a good read. I enjoyed it. I did last night before bed try to read another chapter of Shelterwood, and I'm just struggling with that book. I think I might try to right now sit down and just try to force myself, which I hate doing this, but to read for like 20 minutes and see if I can just get like a chapter or 2 finished. Because that one is just really bogging me down. And I was thinking to myself, well, maybe because the Stone Witch is supposed to be like my reward for finishing Shelterwood. So I was like, well, maybe I should start reading The Ministry of Time, and then I can bounce back between both of those. But then I thought that was a bad idea in case I really don't like The Ministry of Time. It's hard if you're like stuck between two books you really don't like, or not really don't like. I shouldn't say that about Shelterwood. It's just a really slow paced book. And I usually can handle a medium paced book, but I'm not like a slow paced book reader. So that's where I am. I am going to try to read some of Shelterwood. I don't know if I'm actually going to finish it before I start The Stone Witch, because I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I want to read these 4 books in 10 days. And like, TikTok, time's passing. I mean, I finished one, but literally it was like a 70-page book. And so I don't know if it's smart for me to just keep slogging through Shelterwood, if I should try to read a little bit more and then maybe just let myself read like 100 pages of The Stone Witch and then go back and forth, and we'll see. We'll see. I'll let you know. Good morning. It's Monday, November 18th. I started this reading vlog on the 14th. I already checked in about reading the biography of Charlemagne, which I enjoyed, and I just this second finished Shelterwood by Lisa Wingate. This book was hard for me to get through, and I'm going to be honest, I did kind of like, I didn't skim, but I did not thoroughly read the last 150 pages because I was just getting sort of bogged down about it. It ended up being just like not a book for me. I've been trying to read more widely in the genre of historical fiction, and it just wasn't a time period I found that interesting. I just finished it, and I felt so disconnected from the book because I didn't really even feel like emotional about the ending, like at all. So because of that, and because this book vlog, reading vlog, is supposed to be about finishing books that I've meant to. So I've finished 2 now, and I'm feeling very good about that. I'm feeling very nervous about either reading The Stone Witch of Florence next or The Ministry of Time next, because first of all, The Ministry of Time, I'm very concerned will be another book that I just kind of slog through, and I don't like doing that back to back. I feel like that makes it so then I don't want to read anything, and I try to avoid that since I do get so much joy and like relaxation out of reading. And while I am very excited to read The Stone Witch of Florence, I am slightly concerned about reading another historical fiction right now. I just feel like I need a couple days off from reading historical fiction, like traditional historical fiction. So I'm gonna do something I said I wasn't gonna do, and I'm actually gonna read a different book next. If you follow along, you know that I always have a backlist Sophie Jordan as a break in case of emergency, and I feel like I need to use it. I feel like it's been a while since I flew through a book, and I want to just read a book in like 3 days, maybe 2 days, and just fly through it. So my plan is that I'm going to read The Virgin and the Rogue, which is the 6th book in the Rogue Files and my last book in the Rogue Files that I have left to read. I pick a Sophie Jordan series and read it in whatever order I feel like, as like my book slump breaker. So this is the one I'm going to read. I'm going to start this today. I'm probably going to finish it probably Wednesday, I would guess. And then I think I'm going to read The Stone Witch of Florence after that. I don't know if I'm going to read The Ministry of Time in this vlog, to be honest. I'm just feeling a little bit like, I don't know. It's hard. Like life is just really busy right now. I'm not writing at all. I have a book coming out tomorrow. So I spent like an hour this morning doing just like social media posts and stuff that are going to come out, and like drafting my newsletter and all that sort of stuff. So there's just like a lot going on. So I don't think I can force myself to read another book I'm not excited about right now. So the poor Ministry of Time just keeps getting pushed back and pushed back. But what I think is going to happen is I'm going to read this, and I'm going to love it because I know I am. I've never not loved a Sophie Jordan book. And then I'll read The Stone Witch of Florence, and hopefully I'll love it. And then I'll be super motivated. Then I might read a thriller that hopefully just keeps me on a good trajectory, and then I'll read the Ministry of Time. I just feel like I need to be on like a bit of an upswing before I pick up another book that maybe doesn't have me feeling super, super excited about reading. I didn't even tell you what this is about. I just realized I stopped talking about this without telling you what it's about. So the premise of Shelterwood is that you have two timelines. One is 1909 and one is 1990. In 1909, you're following this girl, Ollie, who's I think like 10-ish. And she is running away from her stepfather with her younger foster sister because her stepfather's a bad man and her older foster sister disappeared. And she's worried that her stepfather had something to do with it, and she's got to get both herself and her younger foster sister out of there. So they embark on sort of this like journey to nowhere is the best way I can describe it. They don't really know where they're going. They're sort of just going to be like living in the woods now. They just have to get away from where they live. And then the 1990 timeline is, I'm forgetting the woman's name right now, and I literally just, Valerie, oh my God. Valerie has just moved to work in Oklahoma. She works for the National Park System, and she's going to work at Horse Thief Trail National Park, which I was not familiar with. That is because that is not actually a national park. It's not one of the big parks that we hear a lot about. She is a recently widowed young mom of I think her son's like 5-ish. And when she starts working at this new trail, she finds some really old bones and she starts to sort of like investigate them. And then also there's a missing persons case. So you're kind of following Val and Ollie. I think that if the book had just been Val's story, it would have read similar to, I was thinking about this. I read two books this year that I got from Book of the Month. North Woods, I'm not gonna remember either of the authors, and Middle Tide, which were both like classified as in the genre crime fiction, not thriller, not mystery. And that portion felt like a crime fiction, which is kind of like a slower read through a crime. And I think I would have read that if it was by itself. I would have read that not like fast, but much quicker than I read this. Ollie's story in 1909 read to me more like, I don't want to say, I would say maybe like a young adult, late middle grade, like a previous young adult. The genre of young adult has gotten so messed up lately, in my opinion, as a children's librarian. But if you look at like what YA was in the 1990s, that's kind of how Ollie's story appeared to me. This story of this 10-year-old living in the woods in Oklahoma, getting away from an evil stepfather. There's stuff going on with women trying to protect children that she sort of understands, sort of doesn't. And so that story, I felt like I would have liked in 1994 when I was 11, but I just didn't really like it now. It was hard for me to read the voice of a 10-year-old written in an adult book, if that makes sense, because it didn't read like middle grade. I don't even know how to explain how it read. It just wasn't the right fit for me. That's like the easiest way to say it. It wasn't the right fit for me. I read the reviews and they're very mixed. A lot of people really liked it and loved this author, who I've never read anything else by her, but a lot of people also said that this was not her strongest book, that her other stuff was a little bit more fast moving than this. I think that the pace was really the problem for me, that it was a really, really slow read. And there are people who read a book a month. And so a slow read doesn't really matter because you're just reading like a chapter or two before bed every night. And that's just not how I read. In conclusion, I'm sure there are a lot of people who would like this book. I wasn't one of them. I don't think I'll read anything else by the author. And that's that. I will check in with you, even though I'm not supposed to be reviewing The Virgin and the Rogue, because that is what I'm going to read to just sort of let my brain turn off. I'm going to read you the back of this book. I've already read the 7th book of this series because I read these all out of order. I read the 7th book first. So this is my last one though. But I know kind of what this one's about because the 7th one talks about it a lot. Charlotte Langley has always been the prudent middle sister, so her family is not surprised when she makes the safe choice and agrees to wed her childhood sweetheart. But when she finds herself under the weather and drinks a healing tonic, The potion provokes the most maddening desire for someone other than her betrothed. Kingston's Raquel ways are going to destroy him, and he's vowed to change. His stepbrother's remote estate is just the place for a reformed rogue to hide. The last thing he wants is to be surrounded by society, but when he gets stuck alone with a wallflower who is already betrothed and she astonishes him with a fiery kiss, he forgets all about hiding. Although Charlotte appears meek, Kingston soon discovers there's a vixen inside yearning to break free. Unable to forget their illicit moment of passion, Kingston vows to relive the encounter, but Charlotte has sworn it will never happen again, no matter how earth-shattering it was. But will a devilish rogue tempt her to risk everything for a chance at true love? So they talk about this potion in the 7th book a lot. She's like basically created, it's not like a Viagra because it works on women too, but kind of. And it's like Regency, I don't even know what to call it, oysters, aphrodisiac. And so I think that'll be a fun trip to read. And I think I'll fly through that book and it'll be a welcome change of pace compared to Shelterwood. I mean, literally look at what I've read lately. Before I started this vlog, I read Dinner for Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz, which was good. It wasn't like fantastic, it was good. And then I read a medieval biography of Charlemagne, and then I read this historical fiction Shelterwood. And so now this is what it's time for. It's time for some Sophie Jordan. All right, this check-in ended up being way longer than I thought it was going to be. I'll see you soon. It is November 19th, which means it's release day. It's been a crazy morning already, and it's like 9:10. But release day is so weird. Here, look. I brought this over so I could show it to you. There's my beautiful Bewitching Rosemary paperback, which you can now buy at any retailer that sells books. You just probably have to special order it if you're going to an indie bookstore. But release day is really weird as an author because you like, I don't know, sometimes I wonder what it would be like to have a release day in like 1985, because it was probably just like your publisher calling you on the phone and saying congratulations and the books went out. But now it's like mostly a lot of social media work. So I've been posting across, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, TikTok. I still have to do my YouTube post and trying to engage with readers there. So you don't really it's just kind of like weird work. It's not like writing work. It's like marketing work that you do on your release day. So that's what I'm doing today. I am also going to read some of this today so I can relax, which I started last night. I also have a nice cup of tea right now, but it's too hot for me to start drinking that. So I'm gonna sit down. I'm on page 58 of The Virgin and the Rogue by Sophie Jordan. And you know what? It's just what I needed last night. It was so nice to just read something that's like easy breezy, snappy. It wasn't hard for me to get into. I literally was like half asleep and still wanted to keep reading. That was so nice just after reading something I kind of had to force myself to read. So I'm going to take a little social media break in a minute and maybe let myself read like 50 pages before I do a lot of normal stuff that has to get done on release day, like laundry, and I need to go to the grocery store. So just like normal everyday things that have to happen. But yeah, that's my glamorous release day. I'll probably check back in a little while after I've read a little bit more of this and can give you a little bit more of a blurb about it, because right now it's pretty much just what I read on the back of the book to you in the earlier clip. So happy release day to me. Hi, I'm somewhere I never film. It's November 20th and it's like 2:00 in the afternoon, and I am on page 250 of The Virgin and the Rogue, and it's so much fun. I have 100 pages left. I don't know if I'm going to finish tonight or if I'm going to finish tomorrow morning. What is that? Was a stain? I was like, what is that? I thought that was a bug. It's not. It's just a stain. I would love to finish it tonight. I would love to read 100 pages of it tonight. I have to sort of look and see what the rest of the day is going to look like. I had a very busy day. I just let myself sit down and read like 40 pages. It's going to snow here in like an hour. It's supposed to start snowing, or no, it's supposed to start raining in an hour, and then in a couple hours it's going to turn to snow. But so I had a lot of things to do. We still had we got a lot of pumpkins this year, and my oldest picked a 50-pound pumpkin, which I almost threw my back out carrying from the pumpkin patch. And our squirrels got really into our pumpkins. And so I just decided, it's like, I'm just going to let the squirrels feast on them. We'll just let them go nuts. Our front porch has looked and smelled kind of disgusting for over a week now. And this weekend, we're having a birthday party for my twins. And I really wanted the porch to look nice before that. And since it's going to snow, I was like, okay, so I have to clean up the pumpkins today. Because if I don't, they'll like maybe freeze to the porch, which did happen one year when we lived at our at our townhouse that we lived in before this. And we had like a really, really cold November that year. I remember we had I think it was maybe 10 degrees, a week after Halloween. It was freezing. And I went to pick up our pumpkins off the porch and the stems came off and they were just frozen solid. It was disgusting. We had to chop them off. Gross. So I didn't want that to happen. So I cleaned up our pumpkins. I took down all our Halloween decor. Most of it was already down, but we had spider webs in our bushes. I freaking hate those, but my kids love them. And they found a pack I didn't know we had and put them up without asking me this year. So I cleaned up all that. And then I went for a run because it's going to be icy and I really wanted to go for one more non-icy run. I don't think from now on, from now through March, it's going to be icy and unsafe to run outside, but it's probably going to be for the next few days. So I was like, I really want to go for a run. So I did that and I had some social media stuff I had to get done. It's been a busy day. I had to take one of my kids to the dentist. So now, an hour before my kids get home, I am probably going to let myself read maybe a chapter or two more of this. But then once they get home, I've been looking there's a bin I can't find that has 3 of my kids' winter coats in it and 3 of my kids' snow pants in it. And I can't find the bin. And there's a slight chance, we have a little crawl space above our garage. And there's a slight chance they're up there. But I didn't want to climb on a really high ladder while I was home by myself because my husband's not working from home today. And so I'm going to wait till my kids are home and then I'll climb up there and see if the stuff's in there. If it's not, we have to go to the store to get snow pants because everyone needs snow pants for tomorrow. And I'm going to be so mad if it's not because I don't want to buy 3 pairs of snow pants and 3 winter coats. It's a lot of money, especially because 2 of those pairs of snow pants and 2 of those winter coats I just bought last year. In interesting writing news, I think I talked about this in this vlog. I had been working on book 7 of The Wolves of Leuven, and I was having a really hard time writing it. And I'm having a lot of issues mentally with that series right now, which I will overcome. But so yesterday instead I decided to write the beginning of The Witches of Star Island number 5. And that was a better idea because I'm so in The Witches of Star Island right now with Bewitching Rosemary just coming out yesterday. And it was really fun. I didn't write much. I wrote 1,000 words. But it might, I don't know. Sometimes when I feel when life is really busy, which November is, and so is December, I maybe should just be writing things that I'm highly motivated to write and not things that I feel I have to write. We'll see. My writing advice is such a hodgepodge because I do different things all the time and a lot of times none of it works. All right, so that was my check-in. What a weird check-in about snow pants and rotten pumpkins. I'm going to finish this either tonight or tomorrow. And then I'm going to read the Stone Witch of Florence, and I'm guessing that will probably be conclusive. I don't even know if I'll finish the Stone Witch of Florence before this vlog's over because I told myself I'll probably do my last check-in the morning of Monday the 25th when my kids all go to school. And I don't know if I'm going to finish I hope I'll read the Stone Witch of Florence fast. I hope it's going to be a quick read. It's Wednesday, so that would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's a slight chance I could read that in 4 days. I don't know. All right, I'm going to go so I can read a little before the kids get home and make reading difficult. See ya. It's snowing. I'll sit over here with some snowy ambiance. The glare is really bad on my glasses from all the lights I have on right now. It's our first snow of the season. I have a kid home sick today. Not horribly sick though. She just has a low fever and feels a little bit under the weather. But her birthday party is on Sunday and it's Thursday, so we need to get that girl healthy. Last night I finished The Virgin and the Rogue, and it was delightful. There's a reason these are my breaking case of emergency books because I just always love them and I always fly through them. I read it so fast. I absolutely adore The World of Sophie Jordan. It was exactly what I needed. We have an unlikely pair, So Charlotte is a pretty, like, she's our heroine. She's a pretty buttoned up Regency woman. She's engaged to a person she calls her childhood sweetheart, which is kind of like someone she's like had a vague crush on her whole life. And then we've got Kingston, who is the stepbrother of the Duke, who her sister married in the last book. Because I read these books so out of order, I'm like I don't remember that book very well because I didn't read it last. I don't remember when I read that one. But Kingston was like a rogue or a rake. But then he's the bastard son of an earl. He finally found his mother, who had basically been a prostitute, dying of venereal disease, I think syphilis, and decided to reform his ways and like wasn't going to sleep around anymore. And that part was very sad. But Charlotte has really, really bad cramps. And so her younger sister, not the one who's married to the Duke, she's like trying to come up with like a painkiller for her. And she comes up with this new one and gives it to her. And it's actually like a very intense aphrodisiac. And while Charlotte is like running through the halls trying to find her sister to be like, I think I'm dying, she comes across Kingston and kind of attacks him. But it was done really well because you never feel like, it feels, who is honking? It feels very consenty the whole time. And it was just a lovely story. And it wasn't like, God, it's like snowing sideways. Oh my God. You probably can't see, it probably just looks like a snow globe. My 11-year-old refused to wear a coat today. He's just wearing a hoodie. Snowing sideways. At least he wore boots, a hat, and gloves. But he wore like a thin hooded sweatshirt with a short sleeve shirt under and refused to wear it. Like, I'm like, you don't want to wear a coat? Fine. Can you please wear a fleece? Nope, none. Okay, moving on. So this book was just really, really lovely. I am so happy that I read it. And it also made me realize I've been like really pushing myself to read a lot of other genres outside of romance, which is like when I started this channel, I was like, I want to read more than fantasy and romance. And I have enjoyed a lot of the ones I've read, but also I've been feeling, especially this past year, that I've been getting a little bit like bogged down is the wrong word, emotionally drained from my choices. It's beautiful. A lot of these books that I read are beautiful, but it's hard kind of to read sad books over and over again, or books that don't end happily. Just for me, I know there are people who just like thrive on that, but I do like a pick-me-up book. So I think I'm going to make a concerted effort to be better about making sure I do have some medieval or Regency romances that I'm just throwing in there for the good of my soul. So on the agenda for today, I'm stuck at home now since I have a sick kiddo. Not that I wanted to like go do a bunch of errands in our first snowstorm of the year. I have to clean a lot because we have a party here on Sunday. But I also want to write a lot and I also want to read a lot. So I'm going to try to read between 50 and 100 pages of The Stone Witch of Florence, which it's over there. I don't want to walk over and get it right now. And then I'm going to try to write 1,000 to 2,000 words. And I'm going to try to clean a lot of stuff. And we'll see how much I get done. Okay, this vlog is going to be basically all check-ins. I just realized I'm not doing any like videos of me cooking or walking or whatever because I just can't. I don't want to say be bothered. Motivate myself to do that. So today's Thursday. I'll probably check in with you on Friday. And then I'm guessing I'm not going to check in until I do my complete wrap on Monday morning. See you later. Good morning. Look at me in my normal book spot. I just filmed something for Instagram and I wanted a bookish background. So I ended up starting The Stone Witch of Florence. And you know what? I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm only on page 75. I read the first chapter of this for a video I did in October, but it had been such a long time that I ended up rereading it. And I'm glad I did because while I remembered some stuff, I didn't remember everything. I'm really liking this story. So we're in the 1300s. We're in two different timelines. So one is 1348 and one's 1330 something. I'm going to look it up, see if I can find it. 1333. And we're following Minerva when she's a teenager and then when she's in her late 20s, which I think is funny because they mentioned something about her being like 28. She's like seasoned. But I guess if you lived to be 28 during the plague in 1348, you probably feel pretty seasoned. So I'm really liking the witchcraft in it because it is very stone-based, which is kind of cool. And I don't read a lot of stuff that's like stone-based witchcraft, if that makes sense at all. But I don't know if I'm going to finish it because it's Friday morning. My kid who was homesick yesterday is still sick and I'm going to take her to the doctor. This weekend's pretty busy. We've got, we'll see how everyone's health is, but we have a birthday party we're hosting on Sunday. So, but I'm thinking I might finish this by Sunday night. I might not. Whatever I get to, I will let you know. But I am really liking it, which is nice because I was slightly concerned after having such a hard time with Shelterwood that I just wasn't in like the frame of mind to be reading historical fiction, but I am. This is just the right historical fiction for me. So this is going to be like the fastest check-in ever because I do have to go get ready to go to the doctor, which is always a blast. And I think my next check-in, unless I get to sneak something in this weekend, will probably be Monday when I go over everything I read. See you soon. It is November 25th at 8:30 in the morning, and my 10-day reading challenge that I gave myself is officially over. And it went out in a bang, not in a great way. I didn't get to read really this weekend at all because I ended up hanging out at the hospital on Saturday with one of my kids who needed stitches. She is fine. And then on Sunday, we had a blowout twin birthday party here. So it was a very, very busy weekend. So The Stone Witch of Florence. I am on page 131. I really had hoped to get further in it because I am enjoying it, but it just was one of those, like last night, I finally fell into bed at like 10:30 and I read a chapter because I was just, usually I would read to like 11 o'clock on a regular Sunday night, but I was just wiped out from this weekend. But I will say, if you watched Agatha all along and you liked the idea of Lilia's backstory, what they show in flashes, you would probably really like this book because I'm getting totally that vibe. 1300s, the plague's going on, and you have a woman who is a stone witch. And I'm really enjoying the magic system of the stones. She has just returned to Florence after being exiled, where I am in the book. She was exiled because she healed a bunch of people during she just like barely mentioned it, like a water crisis. So I'm trying to remember what, I think cholera is spread by water, and maybe like typhus, I can't remember, but there's a few diseases that are spread by contaminated water sources, and that's what I'm getting the vibe from. And now she's back in Florence because the plague has basically ravaged the city and someone has been stealing their relics. And so the priests believe the relics being stolen is part of the plague issue, and she's there to try to figure out what's going on. I'm liking it. I'm hoping, I'll finish this book by Friday. I just have kind of another busy week, as we all do if you're hosting family for Thanksgiving in America. But I am glad that I did this. I'm like holding this burning hot cup of tea, and it's not going to be cool enough to drink for 8 minutes. I don't know why I'm holding it. Let that go there. So my plan originally from the beginning of this video was to finish The Life of Charlemagne, Shelterwood, The Ministry of Time, and The Stone Witch of Florence. And I obviously didn't do that, but I'm feeling pretty good about what I did get done in these 10 days. The Life of Charlemagne by Einhard was not hard to finish, but I'm glad that I told myself to just read it because I did really enjoy it. I highlighted tons of stuff, took lots of good notes, and now I feel better about my grasp on the time period and as Charlemagne as a person, which is an odd thing to say, but I liked it. And it was kind of a nice introduction because it was hard for me to think, oh, I'm going to read this like 400-page history book, either biography or just history of the time period, that time period of the Franks. And then what if I didn't like it? So this like quick 75-page jaunt into that time period was fantastic, a fantastic introduction. I really recommend it. Next, I am really glad that I read Shelterwood and finished it because I do get kind of anxious when I don't finish my book of the month books, and I really didn't want to DNF a bunch this year. I DNF'd one book so far this year, Honey by Isabel Banta, and I'd like to keep it at one. Though I didn't really like this book very much, and I do understand why other people would like it, it just sort of wasn't my cup of tea. I'm really glad that I did finish it because I'm just like a person who likes to set goals and actually finish them. So I am glad that I read this book. While I am disappointed in myself that I did not even pick up The Ministry of Time for my mental health, I'm really happy that instead I read The Virgin and the Rogue by Sophie Jordan, because I just really did need a little bit of a palate cleanser after reading Shelterwood, and I needed to read a book that was super fast and furious. And I was thinking about how I started this channel right when I joined Book of the Month, which was when I wanted to get away from reading only fantasy and romance. And then I've really noticed in this past year, I was looking at my books I've read this year for Goodreads, that I have really moved away from reading fantasy and romance, and that made me a little sad. So I think what I'm going to do is go back to reading a little bit more romance, in particular, these kind of romances, like these Regency, medieval, read them quickly, I fall in love, and then I'm just like, I don't have to have like an emotional emotional experience when I'm reading that. Emotional is the wrong word. Like upsetting is the right word, upsetting experience, because I feel like I have been reading more stuff that's like beautiful, but like that ends on a downer, and then I'm like, oh, I don't feel great. So let's put more romance back into my palette of reading. So that's the plan. And then lastly, well, of course, I wish that my weekend hadn't been crazy, and how I really wish that Saturday night I had spent 90 minutes reading instead of, well, I was there for longer than that, but instead of at the hospital with my poor daughter who was very upset getting stitches. I am happy that I got into The Stone Witch, page 130, because now I feel like I have some momentum. I'm going to do some reading today because my last few days were very crazy. I'm going to get my hair cut in a few minutes. I will get my hair cut, I will clean a little, I will read a little, and I will write a little, and then I will feel good about that. I'll feel good about having just kind of one quiet day before I have to do the grocery shopping for Thanksgiving tomorrow, and then start prepping food for Wednesday. Lastly, I wanted to quickly comment. I had mentioned in this video about how in this November I was supposed to be writing a Wolves of Leuven book, and I just like wasn't in the headspace for it. And I started writing the last Witches of Star Island book. And I'm so happy I did. Because while I'm not like flying through it, I'm not having days in which I write 4,000 words, which I don't know if I'm at a place mentally where I would be able to do that anyways. I am writing it and living in that world and figuring out how this final Baywitches story is going to go. And it's kind of an emotional experience to be writing the first draft of the final one. I wrote the first draft of The Hedge Witch, which is now out, in summer 2019. And while it changed quite a bit between then and when I actually got a contract for it and a publishing deal, I have lived with these sisters in my brain for 5 years now. And so writing the last final draft is an emotional experience. But I think it's good that it's an emotional experience because it's going to be an emotional story. And that's all I'll say about that. Thank you for hanging out and watching me muddle through this. And this was kind of an odd video because I feel like it was mostly an accountability video for myself. And I am hoping that as the holiday season winds down, I might have more time to do videos again. I talked about how the way my life is organized right now, I have to sort of just do videos when they're enjoyable to me and not keep a schedule, which is fine. I have such a hard time letting go of control of things, but that is something I just have to let go of control of right now, so I'm gonna do it. And I am super hopeful that in January, my life will, not that it will calm down, because life will never calm down, but I will get a better handle on the rhythm of my life and be able to make more videos for you guys. You can't see my house right now, but this room is a disaster because this is the room the party was in. So I have to clean up, and then I have to go get my hair cut, which will be really relaxing. So in my next video, I'm not getting a crazy haircut. This will not be insane. It will still be very long. Look at that. It's longer than the wingspan of my viewfinder. It's not gonna be short, but it's gonna look better. Let's stop babbling. I hope you're in the middle of a good book, about to start reading a good book, or about to start writing a great book. And I appreciate all of you. See you later. Well, that's better.